right, so hey, welcome to New York State Manufacturing Now, the podcast and now video series that's powered by FuzeHub. My name is Steve Melito. We're here on day 2 of the New York State Innovation Summit, and I am with Gary Kardys from Marktech Optoelectronics. Gary, how are you?
All right, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. We've just been sitting here talking about the show, and have you had a pretty good show so far? Did you meet some folks that might become customers?
Yeah, there's a lot of companies that are also co-exhibitors that we've met and talked to that are, developing a sensor, an optical sensor that needs our components. We're really a component manufacturer. We don't make the finished sensor. We'll make the semiconductor devices that go into those components. So, the sensing element, like a photodiode detector or a light source. So we can detect light, and then we can also provide a source of light. Not just the visible light that you see, but like deep into the ultraviolet, the invisible portion, down to 235 nanometer, or up to, what we call infrared, near infrared, shortwave infrared, or midwave, all the way up to 4,300 nanometers, And all those different wavelengths have different characteristics and interact differently with chemical compounds or biomarkers in your blood, like cholesterol. We have customers that are using our light to detect cholesterol or blood alcohol or other diseases, cancers and stuff.
Okay. So you're not just doing things to light up a room.
No.
These lights have a lot of different functions.
Yeah.
What are some of those different applications they're used for? You mentioned medical.
Yeah, a lot in medical. There are companies that are making biosensors that will wear. Companies that are making what's called smart toilets that will analyze your urine and tell you, if you're sick or your kidneys are going to fail, things like that. And then also phototherapy devices. You can use light to treat diseases like psoriasis or they call it photobiomodulation or phototherapy. Infrared and red light also will actually heal a wound faster.
So Gary, tell me about Marktech Optoelectronics, the company. Where are you located? How long have you been there? How many people work there?
Yeah, the company was founded in 1985 by Mark Campito.
Okay.
And we're located in Latham, New York, but we also have a plant in Simi Valley, California. Okay. In New York, we mainly do testing and engineering and sales and marketing. And we have like a complete test lab, so we can test all the way down to 200 nanometers, up to 4,300 nanometers in both detectors and light or LEDs or light emitters. So we can characterize all the characteristics, what's called responsivity of a detector, or the peak wavelength and viewing angle of an LED, and all sorts of other electrical and optical characteristics, which is important when we're working with our customers and they're trying to understand and why a product is working or how to make it work better. So
Sure. Now you're trained as an engineer, sort of full disclosure. We worked together at Global Spec years ago, so a little bit about what you know. What is the average worker like at Marktech Optoelectronics? Do they have a technical background? Are they good at process type stuff?
There's a wide variety. Some are, some have engineering degrees, and some don't, because you need a variety of skill sets, to serve the marketplace. So there's a wide range, I'd say.
And your job title is Marketing and Business Development Manager.
Yeah.
What do you see as some market opportunities for you these days?
Well, with UV, what we call deep UVC LED, we can make down to 235 nanometers.
Okay.
And there's a trend in the industry, if you can get the wavelengths short enough, it doesn't penetrate deep into the skin, so it does very minimal damage.
Okay.
But it is even more powerful at killing germs and sanitization. So that's a big area. And water purification, sanitizing the air, either in duct or in what's called upper air light systems or disinfection systems, or just surface sanitization. And then also in a lot of sensing applications, UV is used for water quality, to sense nutrients and nitrates, proteins and different other compounds, and mercury vapor, and in gases, so also gas sensors. So that's a big area for us. And then we also work in the infrared, and again, there's gas sensing, phototherapy, photodynamic, applications, and then just a lot of general optical sensing, like for position and things like that. So. Okay.
Can you talk about any space-related or military applications, or is that classified?
Yeah. Well, a lot of our business is custom, so we've signed probably like over 360 non-disclosure agreements. So we can't really mention specific companies. We don't tend to do that just because we want to honor the NDA agreements.
But your stuff is used in outer space on satellites.
Yeah, in satellites, heart-lung machines, optical encoders, and like almost all the high-end automobiles, photoelectric sensors, which I mentioned. So that's for position and proximity. We work a lot of photoelectric sensor manufacturers. We've made things for treating like vitamin D deficiency, like babies sometimes, so they need a special light source. We've made those. Surgical lights that go on the tip of endoscopes, that are very small.
Right.
What's called a point source LED, which could be like 10 microns or 8 microns, and they're used in gun sights, but they can also be used to replace a laser when you only have a short distance,
Sure.
So
for those that don't know what a micron is, how small is it?
Well, it's a micron. It would be, 10 to the -6 of a meter.
I've heard of my own layman's understanding it's about 1,000th of a human hair. Does that seem right?
It's very small. So.
Very small.
Yeah.
Got it. So Marktech, the company, Mark Campito's the owner. We met him earlier today, obviously. He's probably back in the booth at this point. Where do you think the company's going to be like in the next 5 or 10 years? What do you think will happen?
I think we'll continue, serving a lot of the, optical sensing area. There's a lot of, even at this show, there's a lot of small companies developing optical sensors. One for, like, there's a company called Laby, and they actually bought our LEDs when I went and talked to them through DigiKey or Mauser, and they, would like to talk to us to, again, because we could customize and get them something even better than what they got from the standard product. And there's other, companies developing, get the other company, but they're developing a phototherapy device for autism. It's a
Jellica light.
Jellica light, yeah. So so there's a lot of companies, small startups or larger companies, using light, for sensing and for phototherapy. So, we'll work with a lot of those companies, in the future to help get those products to market, because a lot of times they understand the science and technology, but they don't understand, well, how do I actually get these light sources or these detectors to detect? And, like some companies might be buying through DigiKey like 5 or 6 different LEDs and a detector, and through customization we could take those individual chips, put them all in one package, and then reduce the whole complexity of their design and the cost in a lot of cases.
So if I'm understanding you correctly, you've got standard products, but it sounds like if I'm a potential customer and I look and I don't see what and you don't have what I need, I should ask you.
Yeah, right? Exactly. Yeah. So we might have a 265 nanometer LED or a 255 in a TO can, and maybe you want it in a surface mount device package, an SMD package. So we can do that kind of stuff. We can put multiple chips in the same package to get higher output, which is a lot of times what you need in certain sensing applications.
You're adding value in addition to just being a manufacturer, which is obviously a very important thing, but you're able to customize it based on what they need.
And we have, those 360 NDA agreements. We have a long history of application engineering, and then, taking products and testing them to validate the performance too, because we have a large, a great test lab facility too.
Yeah. Do you find that you use your engineering background all the time in your marketing work, because you're not selling like
I think
coffee or something?
Yeah, the engineering background definitely helps, because there's a lot of application engineering, and understanding what people are doing. So
Right.
having the engineering background is definitely a plus. So.
Good, and I'm glad that you've met some startup companies and other companies here that are potential customers. Have you met any New York State assets that you could work with? For example, if you haven't met them yet, I'll introduce you to them. There's an organization in New York City called SensorCat.
Oh, no, I haven't heard of them.
So we'll have to make an introduction to them for you. But they work with companies as well that may need to work with you. Or
if they need a light, if they're developing an optical sensor, then we might be the source for the semiconductor components of that optical sensor.
Right. It's good. It's good. So Gary, thanks for being part of New York State Manufacturing Now.
All right, thanks for having me here.
You betcha.
Thanks.
All right, hey, welcome back to New York State Manufacturing Now, the podcast and video series that's powered by FuzeHub. I'm your host, Steve Melito. We are with Lorraine Grabowski. Did I get your last name right?
You got it right.
I get an A+ for the Polish pronunciation. And you are a sponsor of our event. Tell us about how this came about.
So I work for a company, AX Enterprise. We are a software, hardware systems development company that primarily focuses on the unmanned, uncrewed systems space.
Yep.
And as part of that mission, we also manage the New York UAS test site at the former Griffith Air Base.
Out in Rome, New York?
Yep.
Okay, very good. And what does it mean to manage that site? I mean, what are some of the things you do? Make sure things take off on time and get back home when they should?
Well, a lot of the testing happens either in the GPS denied indoor hangar space that has been recently recreated to host unmanned systems. And then there's an outdoor test facility that has data feeds back to an operations center that the folks, our engineers and our technicians all kind of magically make happen, integrate sensors from out beyond where you can see. There's a term in uncrewed systems called beyond visual line of sight. And so the goal ultimately is to be able to send uncrewed systems out and know where they are without having a visual observer along the way.
Sure. You are really at the forefront of a technology that we're reading about all the time in the news, from Ukraine to the war in the Middle East. Have things changed in the last couple of years? Is there more interest in what you're doing now?
So I think that a lot of the big players in the space, Google, Amazon, Walmart, all of the behemoth, Fortune 5, really want to get to a space where they can deliver your bananas or a book or whatever it might be. The interesting thing is we take that a step further. We still have the military applications, obviously, first and foremost, securing the homeland. Protecting our assets here, understanding from a border patrol perspective who's doing what and where, but also the commercial aspect of uncrewed systems. So that can be as small as a pocket-sized drone that is maybe going out for a surveillance or inspection mission of utility lines, to bigger aircraft doing delivery of medical devices or pharmaceuticals. And right here in Syracuse, Air Upstate, which is a department of the SUNY Upstate Medical System, are kind of leading the way with that, and getting a lot of waivers, is what it's called, to fly in certain airspace to do just that. So it's happening right here, and we're out in the Mohawk Valley, and a lot of innovation and folks from around the globe coming there to test their systems.
And they are a leader in this area, for sure.
Sure.
Now, how did you get into this? This is a relatively new field technologically.
Sure. So my background, I started off in engineering and kind of went the way of business, which I have a a passion for strategy and implementation.
Yep.
And I spent a whole career with the Oneida Indian Nation doing just that.
Wow.
And Turning Stone and some of the other enterprises, helping them in lots of ways, and kind of was voluntold into political, the political space with the Oneidas,
Okay.
and then met some people, and it's a lot about relationships, but it's about being able to pivot and being agile, I think, from a personal perspective.
Yeah.
And so I got back into the technical space and do a lot of the business side of what we're talking about.
So you have a good mix between the technical and the business side, both?
Probably.
Probably, yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Some of the technical guys might argue with that. So, but but it's what I say, and the company that I work directly for, AX Enterprise, is we are at the forefront of inventing unmanned traffic management.
Okay.
So knowing what is where from an air domain awareness perspective,
okay,
and being able to remotely identify those various aircraft and other things that are flying around. So it's really cool to be on the very leading edge of all of that.
Sure. So October is manufacturing month, and there's a tremendous shortage of workers in manufacturing and technology in general. And I say this very sincerely, if we don't use all of our resources demographically, we're going to be in trouble. So I'm going to ask you, what is it like to be a woman in engineering? And can you inspire any young women who might be watching this?
So I think what is really interesting for me, I have a 17-year-old daughter. I have a 19 and 15-year-old sons, but my daughter is looking at engineering schools as we speak.
Good.
Matter of fact, that's what I was talking about when I saw Paul, was her looking at some engineering schools. And I think what I would say to young women in technology is there's always a place for every type of personality. We don't need to pull folks from central casting that you might think is a stereotype. If you, in a lot of girls, we lose by about 5th or 6th grade in the STEM, in math and science, affinity for math and science. But if there's a grain of something there's a lot to be accomplished in all spaces of technology. Sure. There's a lot of money to be made, which, for women, empowers you to kind of do your own thing. So we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about the financial benefit to being in technology. But I think that there's a lot of space for lots of different personalities and skill sets in the tech field. I'm not a traditional tech person, but I have found a space where I can be me and bring a skill set and bring the company along with me in that vein.
That is great. Well, thanks for doing what you're doing, and thanks for being part of New York State Manufacturing Now on short notice, no less.
Well, we're really happy to support this symposium. There's a lot of room for manufacturing at the Griffiths Technology Park, and we have interest from around the globe in folks coming in and making drones in the United States. Because a lot of federal agencies are saying you cannot use drones, uncrewed systems that are manufactured in certain countries. So if we can attract and bring folks to Central New York, of all places, but to the United States to make their aircraft here, I think that puts us ahead of the game with every strategic initiative that the Department of Defense, the Department of Homeland Security are all looking to achieve.
So listen, one last question. You live in Central New York. It's a good place to live, isn't it?
Oh, I could not ask for a better place.
Good.
The Four Seasons, obviously, the pumpkin spice, fall that comes along, and being able to raise my kids where there's not gridlock, very low crime, exceptional schools, and post-secondary educations that could be within driving distance for us is all 4 hours and you're anywhere you really want to be or fly out of in the United States.
Good. Well, hopefully someone's listening who might not be in New York State, and they're going to say, I'm going to check out Central New York.
Oh, the foothills of the Adirondacks are like no other place on earth.
Good. Well, thank you. for your time
Thank you
here
for
today.
having me.
It was great. All right, hey, welcome back to New York State Manufacturing Now, the podcast and now video series that's powered by FuzeHub. I'm your host, Steve Melito. Day 2, New York State Innovation Summit 2024, Syracuse, New York. We are here with Lorraine Groff of Groff Networks. Welcome.
Yeah, thanks for hosting me, Steve.
So we got a couple of things in common. One being we both come from the same neck of the woods, and you went to Colgate University.
I did. Fellow grad, yep.
And what did you major in?
Philosophy and religion.
And now you're doing computer work.
I'm doing sales, basically.
You're doing sales. See, that's the value of a liberal arts education. Absolutely. But
or CEO, leadership, culture development, so all those.
Yeah, exactly. Good. Well, what makes you come out and spend not just one day with us, but 2 days and sponsor this event? I mean, that's a big commitment that you're making.
Yeah, appreciate it. I mean, we want to be present. We're passionate about manufacturing. The manufacturers that we worked with over the years, we've just seen how they've impacted, and surprised when I moved to upstate New York 24 years ago, how to discover when I started my business how many manufacturers there were and have been in the area, and just like this is important for us, for our overall health of the economy. To be actually making stuff, right? And so to be involved there, and then we help them be better, faster, stronger using technology, now more and more reducing risk. And as of this past week especially, a lot are need to have been pursuing CMMC, but now we have the updated regulations.
Right.
And so we want to help whoever we can, get caught up if they're not there already, or help implement what they haven't implemented already, in regards to what you have to do to be compliant, to support DoD primes or direct to DoD work where it requires that compliance.
Sure. So when you come to an event like this, do you make connections that eventually can result in sales, or do you just come to this to just see what's out there?
No, it's definitely about prospecting, for sure. Making the connections that I'm okay with the long game. We've always done long game relationships, can farm long term, so I'm okay that I don't get a direct client today or whatnot.
Right.
But I just made some really good connections, and I think I can contribute to some other organizations that are directly manufacturing related that are here, and some that just spoke, and they were like, oh yeah, let me connect you here, and because we want to give, right? We want to be able to help. There's not enough resources, especially in cybersecurity right now, to do what needs to be done for the small business, the small manufacturer. There's just not enough knowledge, not enough understanding, not enough implementation right now to keep America's manufacturing safe.
Right. Now for those that don't know a lot about cybersecurity, they'll hear a lot about cybersecurity. There's a lot of companies in the space, so. Tell us more about what makes you different. What are you doing that maybe somebody else isn't doing? Is it the level of service that you provide, or the technology, maybe both?
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of technology companies. A lot of companies in my space, like it's about a tool, or it's about some sort of service that is built around software or hardware.
Okay.
But it's more about process. You need a process. Yes, tools are going to be needed, people are going to be needed, labor is needed, but what's the process that you can put in place that is ongoing gap assessment? You need that ongoing gap assessment. Most people think, oh, if I need to figure out what I'm going to do, I'm going to do a penetration test. Well, those are really expensive, and you can't do them very often, so you don't know what your gaps are for years at a time sometimes. And then, did you actually address that gap? Did it stay addressed? So our process, and there's very few following this, is ongoing gap assessment and consulting around that.
Okay.
So that's our big uniques. We've done that for a long time on the IT side.
Okay.
And obviously one of the big risks and gaps is always cybersecurity. How are you downtime could be caused by lots of things, especially when you have servers back in the day. But now, ransomware can be downtime. So we've always been ahead of that because we've always been asking those questions. But now we have, all these objective guidelines for cybersecurity that we can just go, listen, this isn't our opinion, this is the entire, industry's opinion on what you should be doing, and just help you. Like, we support them regardless of what they decide, but most prospects that I talk to are asking the question, I don't know what I don't know.
Right. And
so just helping them, surface that knowledge, then they can make informed decisions. And yeah, some risk has to be assumed.
Sure.
Has to be taken on, but they can address much more risk than they realize more affordably.
And are most of your customers in the capital region?
The majority, yeah, but we have across upstate New York and some downstate. Okay. Now we have a couple out of the state as well. We are national now.
Okay, good, but you can also support Buffalo and Long Island,
exactly,
and wherever.
Yeah, exactly. And then we have an army across the country that we partnered with of smart hands. So we can go anywhere if we need to install or replace, emergency type stuff. But we went out to Phoenix to to install, to onboard a client, but we're doing everything else remotely. So we do the same, but we will go on site for that gap assessment, even if we don't need to, for 98% of what we're doing.
Okay.
Even if it's 2-3 hours away on a monthly basis.
Right, and you're still in Troy?
Yep.
How do you like working in Troy these days?
Oh,
it's come a long way, right?
Troy, we love Troy. Yeah.
Yeah.
All of our kids so far graduated Troy High, and we have the third one in Troy High, and a few more there, and yeah, it's just a great community. We thought we'd be there for a year or two, 24 years ago, and
sometimes life just works out
still
that
there
way.
now. Yeah, we love it.
Yeah, good. So we could be talking about Kant and Nietzsche and all sorts of things, philosophical, but how did you get into this?
How'd you know? Those were the two that I put together
Wild guess.
In the senior thesis. Rabbit trail for sure, but in the 90s I was in the computer center. That was my work-study job.
Oh, okay.
Babysit the printers and get the printouts.
Yep.
And clean viruses off of floppies.
Oh man.
So I did it about 3 years, here and there, a couple different things. But then when I got engaged and needed to come back to the States to get a haircut and a real job, I was just like, it was the tech bubble. So no experience, no education in tech, and I was able to get a job. And then we landed in Troy, and slowly but surely.
The rest is history.
Worked it up, yeah.
Yep. So how about the future? Where do you think you're going to be in 5 years with the business?
5 years, we're looking at 5 years is probably double what we're doing because of the need and the unique selling that we do have. It's a high value proposition. Yep. Not everyone needs it. It's not the fit for everybody, but because of it, and we're serious about growth because there's some pretty cool things that we've come across. Like we're ranked highly nationally for what we do. One best places to work.
Yep.
So the culture, the culture has been supported.
Good.
And we just feel that it's really important to be able to help others as much as possible, as fast as possible, because again, the small businesses of America don't have enough heroes in this realm.
Right. Well, Lauren, it's great to have you with us here, and thanks for sponsoring this event today. We appreciate your continued support. Take care.